Yeah, here we are. It's Friday again, and so I took out the trailing arm, which is, I'll show you on the other side what it is. That bit there came out so I can more easily work on getting all this stuff here back together on it. But during that, this, I don't know if you can see way up in there, but that's your emergency brake cable, and I cut it off because I couldn't get it to come out of the other. I couldn't get it out of the wheel side, and I can't get it out of here. I put a bunch of oil on it. Whoops. I put a bunch of oil on it last night, and I left it, so we'll just see if it'll come. I'll put a bunch more oil. Whoops. Here I am pointing at the ground, eh? I'll put a bunch of more oil on there tonight and leave it be, and then I guess it's time to put together another movie. So I'll show you what I did this week. It's sort of 5 steps forward and 18 steps backwards this week, because I had some serious failures in the bearing department. Kind of ruined that bearing there. Oh well. And then here's the trailing arm, and I was able to get, oh boy, it's a heavy thing to lift up. I'll put it back down on the ground. So I was able to get these bushings out of this hole here and that hole right there. And then I'll clean that up a bit and, paint it before I put it back in the car. Same with the other side. I'll get it off here when I can and see how things go. Anyhow, that's all for this week, and I'll send this out. Hopefully you enjoy it. It's kind of a slow week in the car department, but there you go. I did, however, get the brakes sorted out, and I'll show you the brakes, all the brake lines as I work on them on the. Stick around, you'll see what happens. Yeah, there we go. So today's all about making up brake lines. So I've got this thing. This is for making a standard double flare brake line, which is what I want to start with, because when I make the brake lines to join together, wait a minute, I'll get the thing. I'm just going to put this in the vise so it's easy to handle in the vise. I'll go off here for a minute. So when I join together two different types of brake lines, you use one of these brake line union things. So this end goes with a line coming out of it going out that way, and that end goes with a line coming out of it going out that way. Because now there's lots of line inside the motor compartment there, that's fine. So I'll just do a join where it starts going bad on the outside of the motor compartment and see if I can make it all come together. So I'm going to practice a bit because I'm sorely in need of practice. So I've got this is a line from underneath the car, which is in not too bad shape. And I'm going to use it, it's steel line. I'm going to use it in practice up making the double flare, which is what you need on this to make the good proper join, because you can't make on the steel line, you can't make what they call the bubble flare, which is, I showed you that the other day, but yeah, so here I come. Here we are, we've got all different kinds of stuff here. So this one here, hopefully you can see that. Let me check on the back here. Yeah, there it is. So that one there is what you call a double or bubble flare. It's got that kind of a dome at the top, and it's got a special kind of 10 millimeter insert thing. Now that one there is for European cars, and that fits into the brake components. It's difficult to make that bubble flare on a steel line, which is what the car has when it comes out of the factory, is steel lines. That line there is copper alloy. But you can make a double flared on the steel line and then use these joining things with the proper connector inside to fit them all together. which I've done here. So now this one here is a double flare. And can you see that? Yeah. That one there is a double flare that I made on this copper alloy line in it. And that will go into this little thing here, which is what it joins into. And it's got there's a lip in there that flare fits into that lip, and then it tightens down with this, and then you have a solid connection there that's will take thousands of pounds of pressure when you hit the brakes. Anyhow, so the goal is to learn how to do double flare on a steel line, because I tried it last night a couple of times and had failure. So here's what I need. I need this tool here for making flares. Need some line. Then I've got this cutter thing here for cutting the line if I want to. And then I've got this flare tool here. So this flare tool comes with two parts, depending on what size line it is. This is made for 3/16 line, which is the same as 6mm, I guess, or whatever it is in metric. So you have to make it so that the flared out end is that far above the tool, and then this flared thing hooks onto this thing and pushes in to make the flare. It's got a little kind of an indent on the inside there. Then you take that out and push it flat with this part here, which is the whatever you call that pointy thing. Now the other thing you need, they say, I put a bunch of brake fluid in there, so you put a dab of brake fluid on it and then have at it. So I'll just leave the camera running for a bit here and see what happens. I'll likely clip out some of the pretty boring stuff. It's all pretty boring, but I'll clip out the real boring stuff. Now I got some emery cloth over here. Emery cloth, yep, good old emery cloth. You can use it for lots of stuff. So I'll try and clean off this old line here as well as I can. I imagine I could stick it in that tool and that would hold it pretty tight for me. I'll do that. There, that'll hold it tight. Clean off all the yuck. Now that looks like it's cut off pretty good at the top, but I'll recut it with with this thing here, just a bit down from the top. Now these pipe cutters are dime a dozen. This little one here I got it at Canadian Tire because it's tiny and it'll fit into spots when you want to be working underneath the car. If you have a great big one like this. Little kit here came with a great big one, but I don't think I can get that to go around in lots of places on the car. So I'll just use a little guy. So there. That cut through. Oh, there it goes. This is a bit shorter. Now you have to ream out the inside of it. Now I've got a little tool here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little Dremel tool that's kind of a rough edge on that, so I'll just use it to ream out the inside of that pole. I guess it's called deburring it. That deburred the pole. Now, the next thing you do, you have your little device here. It says 3/16 on it. You want this pipe to be sitting that distance above the tool. bring it down until it's flush with that top there, right there. And then it says in the instructions to tighten up the one that's farthest from the pipe, or closest to the pipe first. So you tighten this one up so it's tight, then you tighten up the other one, and that'll bring it in tight. I'll just use a little wrench and tighten it down. Because it's got to be real tight in here. If it's not real tight, then it'll just push the pipe through. There, that's tight. Now the next thing is, they say, they being all those internet guys that I watch on the internet, put a little bit of dab of brake fluid there, and a little dab of brake fluid there. And that creates it so that there's less friction, it'll work easier. Then you take your, so I've got that tool part in there. This thing here just goes on. You back it out as far as it goes. It goes into the little hole. And then you, it should just slide in there. But, you see now I don't have that far enough into the tool. So I've got a little bit of a failure there right away. Whoops. And don't drop these things on the floor too much. So I've got to loosen this off and put the pipe down a little bit more because I've got it up just a bit too high. Just a tiny, tiny bit too high. Get down just a bit. That should be right there. Famous last words because I thought it was right last time. There, that seems to be together. I'll put another drop of fluid on here. Then, see if I can get this thing on it. Yeah, see now it slides into place now. Then, everything's tight, so now you turn this down. Set law. Until that black thing there becomes flush with the, it's flush now with the tool. I don't think you can see that. I'll give you a close-up here. So now the black thing there is flush with the top of the tool down here. So now, whoops, I'll put it back over here because it actually sees there. Can you see that? Maybe. Maybe not. I'll just turn it a bit here. There. How's that? There, that's better. So now, you loosen out this tool here. Loosen out pretty quick. You take this little bit out of here. There, it's good. Oh, it looks like it's right. Looks like it worked. So then, after you do that, put another little drop of fluid in here. Put the tool back on again with the point right into the top of the, whatever you call that, the top of the pipe. And then bring this down until it fills the, you can sort of tell when it fills the indentation there. You know what? It might have worked. I might have got it right. Let me see. I'll loosen off now. I think one of the biggest tricks is having this tool tight enough to hold it from going away. Now there, that looks like a good double flare. So now that will fit. Like there'll be a little piece like this at the other end of it. I didn't put it on in this case, but it'll fit into this hole here, and it comes up against what is supposed to be there, and that'll make a nice tight fit. And it should, because this is brass and this is steel, this will give a little bit, and it should make a good seal. Well, that was easier than I thought it was, because I tried it last night and I had a massive failure. But it seems that it's going to work, so there you go. That's all for now. I'll show you a couple when I get them done on the car. Yeah, here you go. I took it off. I cut this off here so I could put a fitting on there. So I've got that fitting on there. It's a little bit, I got some dirt from the line in there, but that's all right. I'll get that cleaned off later. So the fitting in here, and then I've got this one here I made on copper alloy line, which is a little bit easier to work with, but I might just cut that and remake it again because it's not quite as nice as the one I have over here. But anyway, the trick is you put this fitting in here and this fitting in here, tighten them down snug, and it becomes a single line. Then you can have, it'll hold the pressure. So this is new line copper alloy. This is the old steel line that's on the car as it came from the factory, and this is for where you have rusty lines. So down underneath the body of the car there was a bunch of rusty lines, and I cut them out, and there's one on that on the driver's side wheel well where the end of it just, I couldn't get it out of the fitting, so I cut it off. So I'll put a new fitting. I'll put this joint into that line over there, coming down out of the car, and then this goes into the wheel part over there. So should work all right. I'll keep you updated. Yeah, there. So I redid this one here. Can you see that all right? Yeah, there. Redid this one. It has a nice inside to it now, and I'm happier with that connection right there. So that should be good. So now I have to do the one on the car on the passenger side, and then they'll go together like that. Now this thing here, this copper alloy pipe is soft. It's really soft. You can bend it very easily, which is nice. The steel line, you can bend it, but it's very difficult to bend. Anyhow, when you put this in this grippy thing, it grips on it pretty tight, and it can make some little burrs from the grip. It'll little squeeze spots. So I took a file, just a flat file. I'll show you. That's a flat file for the chainsaw. So I just took a file and I cleaned off those little bits of burr, and now this sort of slides on there nice and easy. So happy with that. I'll do the one in the car, and then I'll show you some results. It's a little bit hard to film underneath the car. Yeah, so there, this is the brake line right here that goes into the car. It's fine, like there's no trouble with that. A couple of electric wires that sit in here, they have to go on one side or the other. They have to go that side of the brake line, so I better put them up out of the way. Anyway, then where's my piece of brake line? What did I do with it? Over here. So the trick, I'll put this join in here, like here, and then this brake line here has to go down, and did I show you that, or did I look the other way? So I'll put this join in here like that, right, like that, that there, is that good English? And then I have to make this bend to come up into that hole right there. I don't know if you can see that hole, yeah, there. And then it's rubber lined from there over to the wheel. Somewhere right here is, oh yeah, that the light's sitting on where it hooks on here. And then there's yeah, rubber line to there, and then it'd be steel line into the brake caliper, methinks. We'll have to take a look at that and see. I forget. Anyway, I'll carry on. Yeah, very important to remember, put the fitting on first before you try and make the flare in the line. Otherwise, you'll be disappointed. There, I had to do a couple of contortions to get that thing on there, but I've got it onto the first step of the flaring process right now. I just have to turn it tight, and then I'll go to the second step of the process. There we go. I think that thing is looking pretty good. It's got a flare at the bottom there. I just have to put this part onto that, and I have a union done, and then I'll cut this to be the right length. There we go, that's what it's supposed to be like in there, and then this pipe here has got a hook around here and go up into that hole there, and then it feeds into that rubber pipe that goes to the brake caliper. This side here, I didn't ruin it over here. There's that wire out of the way, so the brake comes down here, and that has a hook in it, and then it just goes into this contraption here to hold it all together. Now, this end of it at here needs to have what they call a bubble flare. So I'll show you how to do that. Now, here I am. So as well as I can get it bent on hand is like that. That's about the distance I have to go down. Can you see that? Or am I too close? Yeah, well, okay, there, back there. So that's about the distance it has to go down, then it's got to bend around. But I tried bending it by hand, and I had, limited success. Back to this thing here that I showed you the other day. See if it will help me out. Whoops, tighten it on there. Not so far, but we'll have another go at it here. That's about the radius of the corner that I want right there. And then I want to get it straightened out so it's like that. That's pretty close to looking a bit better. So there, that's a better curve in it. Maybe I'll get this straightened out a bit here. Give it another go. Okay? This stuff here is fairly malleable, so I'll have another go at trying to get it the curve that I want. Now there, that's the curve that I want. So that looks pretty good. Make it straight. So now it goes up into that receptacle, about this high, where it's got to have a bubble flare on it. So I'll figure that out, how high it's got to be, cut it off, and then I'll show you what's happening. Yeah, so there, this one here, whoops, back here I think. So this side here, with that brass fitting on it there, has got what they call a standard SAE double flare, made with that, like I showed you here a minute ago. This side here goes into the braking system that's European, and so it needs to have a bubble, B-U-B-B-L-E flare. So I'll make one of them. I've got a tool for that, the one that I borrowed from Canadian Tire. Now that little line there is where it cuts to, and I came back and redid that again. So I'm happier with it now. It doesn't hang down so far where it won't catch a stick or something. Anyhow, I'll carry on. Yeah, so here's the bubble flare thing. Same idea as the double flare, except that it's in metric. So this is a 4.75, which is the same as on the other one would be, yeah, so 4.75 metric is about the same as 1/4 on the other one. But you see, this one here doesn't have any grooves on it like the other one does. Here's the SAE one, and it's got these bevels in here so you can make the double flare. This one here is just flat, and the tool itself does the whole thing for making the bubble flare. I'll show you. Anyhow, I'll put it back into the vise again, same as before. If you have the opportunity to work with a vise holding everything, it's a lot easier. So there's the other connector thing for the bubble. Then I got to take this and I have to cut it off with this little tool again. So I guess I have to straighten it out so I can cut it off. This is all pretty boring, so I might just clip it out later. But maybe you'll be happy with listening to me babble on, right? But it doesn't take long to get this thing cut out of here. This is a little tiny, there we are, cut off. Now I'll get my tool and deburr it. Deburr. That's done. And make sure you put the end piece on that you want, because otherwise you won't have an opportunity. Now it won't quite go up there, so I'll have to just straighten it out a bit more. So I guess the answer is to put the curve in afterwards. Yeah, take two. I finally got it up far enough so that I can actually work with the machine here. So you gotta loosen off that side of it. Stick it into, same idea as the other one. You put it in the machine. And then, but in this case, this machine comes with that tool. And that tool is how high you're supposed to have it above. You're supposed to make it flush with the top of that tool, which is right there. And then you tighten down the closest two, and they tighten down the farthest one away. This one here, you don't need a little wrench on it because there's lots of leverage down here. Then, it's got these, well, I'll show you one that's on the machine. This is for a big pipe. So you see the, you can see this end of it up here. This goes into the pipe. This part here goes into the tool. Now this is for the little pipe, so this is on the tool already. And that little bit there goes into the pipe, and it's got a form in there that actually grabs the whole thing and makes your bubble end. So I'll just put that down. Same thing though, I'll put a little bit of brake fluid in here just to lubricate everything. When this goes on, you have to back it off so it fit into that. Fit into everything, then you just tighten it down. Now this copper alloy stuff is fairly soft and malleable, so it's not too tough to make these bubble type connections. You bring it just down till it's flat, till it's flush, and then back it out and you're done, we hope. Find out. Yeah, it looks like it's got it done. So there we go. That side has the bubble connection on it, and it sits right up like that, and that'll be the way that it fits inside the brass fitting, or the other thing. Where is one? I don't know if you can see anything in there, but that's, yeah, you can sort of see that. There's a seat in there where this bubble fits right into the seat. And then that tightens down on it and makes a good connection to it. Set la. We'll just tighten that in there and see what happens. I'll tighten it up. Well, that is a bit of a failure. Have to tighten it again and see what happens here. There, that's snug. Let's see if it'll hold. Yeah, it seems to hold my pressure of blowing on it, but I'm pretty sure that'll be all right once it's all hooked in together. Now this has to make its hook in it again. And I've just ruined that, so I have to do it all again. Anyhow, nothing like having a good practice run. Yeah, so there you go, I got the little piece done. Now I just have to bend it without wrecking it again and see what happens. So, I'll put my little bending tool in there. So hopefully this will do it without wrecking it. That's a difficult bend to make, but it seems to be coming. See if we can do it on here. Oh yeah. A little short piece of pipe to make a little pretty tight bend in. I think that'll do. I think we're okay. Yeah, that's all right. So it's bent, and it's got lots of room in there for fluid to go through, so we're good. There it is. It's all together. You can't see very well in there, but here's the the union here. I put these two wires back in the proper place, and then temporarily I put the old hose. Can't see it, but move those wires. There you go. So temporarily I put the old hose on here, and that'll keep any dirt out of that line down there. And I've got a new hose for this. This goes onto the brake caliper. Yeah, so it sort of goes through. There's this thing here hooks into that right there, and then that keeps it up with the but that goes directly into the brake caliper. So I'm happy with that. That's well, I'll be happy as long as it all holds together. We'll find out. But that's pretty well it for today, because it takes a little while to figure out all that stuff. Well, not quite all for today. I'm going to make a thing like this on this side, and I'll weld it on, and I'll make it a big enough gap in there so that I can get my what do you call that, brake line through, and that'll make it easier to bend stuff. I'll figure that out. I'll see what happens here. Yeah, woohoo, start again, hey? Take two. So this is the old piston from the, whatever you call that, from the shock absorber. And I'll take this rod, this is nice hard steel rod, I'll take that out and weld it onto the other side of my piece there, and maybe it'll work. There, we're all set to weld. So I've got these two magnets holding it here, and then I just put a nut underneath there on each side, and there's a big enough gap that the pipe will fit through with a little bit of room to spare. So that'll make it, I'll try it out, see what happens. Whoops, better put some gloves on besides these ones. Here we go. That should hold that side. I'll just spin it around the other way and I'll try welding the other side. That should hold it together. Now I've put enough room out here on this side so that I can slide the pipe in and then slide it back out without having to unhook it. That might make things easier in a couple of ways. Now I don't need these on here anymore, that's for sure. And we'll try it out and see if it actually works. Might work, might not. Here's a little piece of pipe. Need a little bit longer piece of pipe than that. Here's a little bit longer piece of pipe. That's pretty hot, everything's in there. Yeah, that makes it so you can bend little pieces without putting a kink in it. It makes a nice little bend, and then if you have a bigger piece of pipe, it fits in here. Anyway, we'll call that a success. That'll make bending pipe easier. Or bending, what is that stuff? Brake lines easier. So now, you remember when I said to make sure to put the little nut thing on there. Now I've got that one done. Worked out all right. But this one here, I forgot to put on the little nut thing. Now, here it is over here. Ready to go. So I have to cut that off again and put the nut thing on and then make the flange in it. It's got a nice flange. I'm getting better at it. Oh well. Yeah, take two. So here's the end of the pipe here. And I've had it, I just cut off that flange that I made. Now when you're working underneath the car, this thing here isn't very, very strong. So I just put a tie wrap on here to hold it, give it a bit of support. There, the tie wrap fell apart. Anyway, I'll put that back on and then I'll put the apparatus on there. Yeah, there, so I remembered to put the nut on it this time, and then the apparatus is on there, and it's all tight, and there my little tie wrap is sort of holding all the weight, because this thing here is heavy, and then when you put that other gizmo on it, it's heavier. Anyhow, I'll carry on a minute. Yeah, so there's step one. This in the middle there's that little insert thing. Can't really see it because my finger's black and that thing's black, but right at the edge there's anyway, wait a second, I'll get a screwdriver or something. Here, maybe you'll see this now. Hold it steady. So at the end of the screwdriver there's a little black thing that's that insert part. So now I'll take that off, take the insert out, and then I do it again, and that puts a double flare on it. There you are. Now there's no insert in there now, and it's pressed in pretty tight against this apparatus. And when I take that all off, you'll see the double flare done. Yeah, there it is, and I got the nut on there, so I'll likely have to clean up a little. It gets a little bit of a burr in there. I'll clean that up a bit and then pull the nut down and put the connector bit on. Yeah, so I've run the brake lines along where they're close to where they're supposed to be, just to get the right length out of it. And then some of these little clippy things that they fit into are still on there. So then I've got lots of extra line here, so I just marked it off. Whoops, where am I? Right there. See that little black mark? Is there a black mark there somewhere? Can't tell. Yeah, a little black mark right there where my thumb is. So I mark that off, and then I'll pull it down and cut it down here and put the end on down here. Oh, there, it's all down now. And then I'll put it back up in place and clip it together. Yeah, there you are. That's number 1. That's the brake for the, what side? That's driver side. That's passenger side. And that's the joint for number 1. That's the joint for number 2. When I get it all pressured up, I'll find out if they leak. And if they do, I'll just have to refix things. But the whole, it all goes along underneath here, and it's all the way to the back. One single thing. This one here goes into up here. The other one goes across the top. Don't know if you can see that, but it goes across the top of the differential and into right in there. Then there's rubber wire, rubber hose that goes from here across. And I need a piece of need to make one up to go across here. Whoops, can't see that. I'm pointing off the camera. Need to make one up to go across here. It goes along the this is called, what do you call that? The trailing arm. And it goes over to there's another rubber one over here on this side that goes to the brake. And I've got one made already for this side here to go across the trailing arm to the brake. So one more to make. These ones on the back here get the bubble fit, and the ones up here where I did the join on the line, they get your double flare business. Now the double flare business works easier on steel lines. I imagine if you have to have a special tool or a different tool than I have for doing bubble flares on steel lines, because the tool I have, it says right on the box, it says don't use for steel lines, just for copper alloy lines. Anyway, that's actually pretty good to get that done. There we go, this side's put together. Wonder if I can get it around where you can see that. Anyway, can you see that's where the new line comes in here, and then it goes into that rubber hose right there and onto this here. Then another line comes out, new line here, and onto this here, and then there's a rubber hose. Anyway, new line comes across this, what do you call this thing? The trailing arm, and then into here, and then this rubber hose will go to the brakes. So I had to make a couple of these little clampy things here because the old ones were rusted off. So they just hold it so it's kind of stiff. This one here might need a bit of work. It seems to be all right. Anyhow, there we go. One brake. There, and then while I'm at it, I've got this back plate back on. It's kind of an ugly affair, but I think it'll do the job. We'll just wait and see if anything scrapes on it. If it does, it might take a little bit of hammer work to make it right. There, that light was right in your way, eh? There you go. So next thing I'll do is on the other side of the car. Where am I over here? Oh, on this side of the car here, I'll put that. You can see over there, I've got the, where is it? That shiny thing over there is the new brake line. So I'll put the brake lines the same as the other side on here. And hopefully this back plate is in better shape than the other side. And if it is, I'll be a happy guy. Anyway, there we go. I got another project for tomorrow. Yeah, there we go. I've got time to put the wheel bearing back in. So I've got this contraption. Actually went and bought this thing here. It's for doing wheel bearings, of all the things in the world. And you can sort of, but again I had to use my great big old wrench. And there's a, see, I made that little scar in there because there's a divot in there that's got to get around. Anyhow, it seems to go in all right. Haven't any trouble yet so far. You can sort of watch it go in there. We'll have to get to the end of it and then push it a bit farther than, because that snap ring has got to go in there on top of everything. But I think I'll just put the other bearing on top of it and push it in that way. We'll see what happens here in a minute or two. But that's without using too much pressure, because I'm just on a ratchet here, not on a great big thing. So there, that's as far as that goes that way. Now I have to get another spacer in here, to right in here, so that'll push it in against the top of the bearing. That's just about my exercise there. Yeah, so that seemed to work. I put the seating from the old bearing on here and then was able to pull it in the rest of the way, I hope. Enough to get the snap ring in, I think, and everything else to go together. And hopefully I didn't hurt anything in there. Oh well, see what happens. Yeah, so here's the little kit I bought. It seems to do the trick. One bearing in, I'll show you. It went along without no serious complications at all. Now I have room in here to put the snap ring in, and it's tight to the other side, coming up as tight as it can go. That's all right. I'm happy with that. Yeah, there we go. Got it in, got the snap ring in there. Now that took a little bit of banging and pounding, but it's all okay now. Now, the next part is getting this axle in there. Wonder, I'll clean it off a bit. This one has to go in, and the bearing sits on that. Now, I'm looking at the old race, and you can see that along this edge here, it got hot one time. You can see it on the inside a little bit better. Over on this side maybe, yeah. So the bearing was getting close to being done, so good thing I took it out. Yeah, well, we're getting there. Now what did I do? I had a couple of big washers in there that I'd built like this in there against the bearing until I was able to get this spline bit on, which is a nice flat fit on there. And it's fighting me all the way, but it's going to get there eventually. I'll show you. You can, well, now, where? Choice of light or camera. See the silver bit in there? That's still, it's got a 1/4 inch to go before it's seated properly. So I'll keep on cranking at it. Ah, there we have it. Serious failure. So I'm back to wheel without bearing in it. When I was putting the new bearing in, I guess I pushed too hard on something because it started making funny noises. So I figured, well, might as well pull it out now instead of after 10 miles of driving. So it's back on the bench here. There's the original one I pulled out. Whoops, there you go. And I got this bench press thing here. I don't know if it'll help me or not, but hopefully it will. And there's the one I pulled out of there. It should have a seal like that on both sides. So, ruined that. But that's all right. Better to catch it now than later. Now, I'll have to figure it out how to get that back in there and properly. I ordered up, I'm so deep into it now. So I ordered up these, there you can see where the light's shining there, that bushing there that didn't come with the original kit. So if I take that out and I take the one out on this side here, which is right there, then this trailing arm will come off. And once the trailing arm is off, then I'll just work on this in a more, like a nicer bit of area. Anyway, that'll be later. Time for supper now. Yeah, so here's a new contraption, part of that pulley, or that, what do you call that, bearing puller kit that I bought. Now that bearing there, I don't know, it seems to fit very, very tight on that seat there. So I ordered a different set of bearings for it. Maybe they'll come, a different company made them, so maybe they'll be a little bit easier to slide on, because it seems to not go on properly, and that was my problem. So anyhow, I'll just get this one off and I'll wait for the new ones to arrive. Yeah, here we go. Oops, that fire went out. I like being upside down. So, that side there, the bushing is out. Get my finger in there. Try that again. That side there, the bushing is out. Whoops. And I was able to use that machine there to push it out. But this end here, I can't get it to fit in there because it's all, well, there it is. So, I'll push it out with this contraption. Now I've got it started already, going down, and put some pressure on it, then I'll put this heat to it, and that gets the rubber a little bit soft in there. Now in the middle of it all, I think there's a outer ring to that bushing that seems to be fairly well stuck in there, but I won't do anything to that until such time as I get the new bushing here and make sure that I'm not trying to cut something out of there that's supposed to be in the wheel part, or in the trailing arm. Anyhow, but there's the trailing arm. It's out of the car on the bench, so it's a little bit easier to work on out here. Yeah, there it's out now, and I've cleaned it off. It looks like there's a little bit of a lip here. Oop, that's still hot. A little bit of a lip here, so I think that there's another piece of metal that has to come out of that, but same up here, you can see it more defined at the edge here. So I'm gonna wait until I get the new bushings and see if that lip is supposed to be in there or not. And if it's not, I can just take a hacksaw and cut it out, and then that was kind of chewy there, wasn't it? Take a hacksaw and cut it out, and then I'll get it out of there. But we'll see what happens when I get the new bushings. Yeah, so now here's the challenge. I've got this part here that's, I'll call it the spindle for the back wheel, I guess, for a better word. Axle for the back wheel would be a really good word. And it's got to go into here from the other side. I'll show you from the other side. It's got to go into this hole here. Now in here, I have to put a bearing in here, and it's only got, well, one and 41/64 of an inch, which is that size there, to be able to pull it out. So, how can I get something to pull? How can I get something to pull on this, and at the same time push on the bearing, which is in there, so that I don't get side pressure? So the bearing size on the spindle side are in there. Where's my bearing? Yeah, there it is there. So this part here, that one's a ruined bearing, so maybe I'll stick it in there and see if I can, you know, sort of just play around and figure out a method here. So this bearing here has got a Oh dear, too many stuff. So that bearing's got to fit on there. And then this, you have to have something to pull on here and at the same time push on this thing here so that you don't get side pressure on the bearing. So I want to pull the bearing, pull the axle through without ruining the bearing. So that would be the challenge. And so I'll build a tool. Now I got a good piece of pipe here. It's likely the right size. Yeah, it's exactly the right size. So then I'll have to cut a piece that's the right length and make it so that I can put a tool in to grab the nut part here. I guess I can figure that out. We'll see what I can come up with.